Good afternoon. It's 6:05. Call this meeting for December 5th, Public Works Community Meeting. Can you please take the roll, BJ?
Chairman Aaron Salazar,
Present.
Peggy Sue Martinez,
Honored to be with you.
Counselor Justin Salazar Torres, Counselor Denise Benavides.
Present.
Okay, we have a quorum. Thank you, BJ. We have the agenda in front of you.
Motion for approval as presented, sir.
Second.
All righty, have a second. Counselor Benavides. Okay, just all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, what's that? Public comments. We don't have anyone for public. Yeah. Committee member comments, any?
I'll yield to Counselor Benavides first.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Just happy to be back with Public Works and the entire team. Other than that, I'm just getting back in the swing. So thank you, Chair.
Under committee member comments, of course, we always want to thank the departments for how they maintain the services on behalf of the constituency of the city of Espanola. Specifically, I want to thank publicly everybody that was involved with the opening of the fire station and how well that went. And secondly, streets and for their commitment to getting our community decorated. I think the community looks so nice with the season's greetings stuff up and the city hall and the convento decorated the way that it is. So my hat's off to that department for the work that they're doing. Every department, solid waste, wastewater, general services, utilities and water are just doing incredible work for our community, and I'm grateful to each and every department. Thank the supervisors and the leadership for maintaining things, especially those of you that are short-staffed and are getting by with what you have. We certainly appreciate the work that you are providing to the constituency, and I thank you.
Thank you, Pro Tem. Also, I just want to, thank you all, letting me, and I'm glad to be the chair for Public Works, and I'm looking forward to working with everyone. And thank you to all the committees. To all the departments. Like Pro Tem mentioned, all the lights, they're looking nice out there. Thank you, City Manager as well. Also,
Sir Chair, if sorry I joined a little bit late, but I am here. I'm not sure what part of the agenda we're on, but I am here. Sorry, it took a while to log in.
no problem. Thank you, Councilor Torres. Did you have any comments? Member comments?
Are we on committee member comments?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I absolutely do. Welcome board chair. Congratulations. Secondly, I would just like to get our director's inputs, Chair, if possible, at the end of this meeting. City manager contacted me today, and I'm sure he contacted everybody today, or at least somewhat, regarding the Christmas break and what they would like to do. I gave the city manager the I guess my idea, should I say, would be is sort of a 3 for 12, if I'm not mistaken, but give me 1 second and I'll tell you. So it'd be a 3 for 11. And the idea would be is it would come to a vote, obviously, to the council. And for holidays, the city has always given two, and our employees give two for PTO. My idea is that we uh, the city would cover the 22nd of December, which would be a Friday, because usually us Chicanos celebrate Christmas on the 24th, which is Christmas Eve on a Sunday. So I would think they would like 2 days before that. And then we would cover the 26th, which would be the day after. The only thing that would be in the air would be the 27th, 28th, and 29th uh, of December. So that would be the 3 for 11. Granted, usually they take 2 days PTO, but it would be three this time. But they would be non-essential services would be off from the 22nd until the 2nd of January. If you can, sir, just take a poll, see what our staff thinks about that, and then therefore we can pass that on to city manager as well, to give him somewhat of an idea and so forth. Other than that, Merry Christmas, everybody. I'd like to invite everybody to, usually I park my fifth wheel across Blake's Lauderburger or Garcia, some chicharrones. We're going to have potatoes, beans, all sorts of food. So please join us. Committee members, please join us. Appreciate you. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Counselor. Um, thank you, Counselor. We'll discuss that and we'll go get with the city manager on that as well. Also, as I was saying, just again, just glad to be here and thank you all for, for your help, your assistance and helping me out. This is new to me, but together we'll get this going and make it work. Thank you. So next item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes for November 16th, 2023.
Motion
So
to-
moved.
Can we get a second on the approval of the minutes?
Okay, second.
Thank you, Counselor. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
And Chair, just so you know, since some of us are on Zoom, it'd probably be in the best interest just take a roll call vote.
Okay, thank you, sir. Counselor Torres, when you speak, can you get a little closer to the mic? It's could barely hear you on this side.
All right, can you hear me now?
It's not really, it's real low.
I am basically kissing my phone. I'm not sure what more to do.
Okay, we'll work it out. Thank you, sir. DJ, can you get for approval of the minutes? Yes. Roll call. A roll call vote, yes.
Chairman Aaron Salazar,
In favor.
Mayor Pro Tem Peggy Sue Martinez,
In favor.
Counselor Justin Salazar Torres,
In favor?
Counselor Denise Benavides.
In favor.
Okay, thank you. So this next item is discussion recommendation items to take to the full council. The intent of the recommendation items placed on the city committee meeting agendas are recommended by majority of the committee to the full council for final approval and or denial of the governing body. The first item is request to purchase pump for Cadiz lift station presented by Superintendent Rodney Talcott.
Good evening, Honorable Chair, Mayor Pro Tem, and councils. I'm want to present to you multiple quotes I have gathered, and I'll explain. Normally we have three. I have two extra ones, and I'll explain each one. I believe the first one on your screen, I'm not sharing the screen, but what I have is Falcon. This pump is $34,245. The reason for the low cost, this is made in China. And this pump is also presented to us on another quote at $11,000 more. And the difference because of that is it's made in America. And now the this particular pump being quoted here is undersized, and we'd have to enter the lift station in order to actually install this particular type pump. As you notice, I have other quotes. JCH. This pump is a flight pump, and we have two quotes from it. One is a repair quote. The cost of repair would be about $49,000, and we would only have a short warranty. On this quote, it does not give that. But that information can be gathered soon. The new pump, this generally comes with a 3 to 5 year warranty, and it's $52,625. This is the pump type that actually came out of here. Basically, it'll be plug and play. All we had to do was install it, plug it in, it'll work. The others would have to make some variances too. The next one is a trip. Yes, ma'am.
Tell me which one you're speaking of that it doesn't need to be retrofitted?
That is the flight pump from JCH. And it costs, yes, ma'am.
Question,
Yes.
uh,
ahead.
on the bid that I have before me, it says one tear down and inspection of mechanic states excessive wear was found on all hydraulic parts. Rags compromise the seals, bearing washed out, flood tested, weak, needs replacing, cable saturated, shaft major was pitting, needs replacing. So I'm not sure that he's bidding a pump. I'm not sure that that's what he's bidding.
Okay, there's
And it's
two
talking
from
about 12
JCH.
hours of labor, and you're telling me that,
Ma'am, there is two quotes. One is for a rebuilt, is the one you're observing now. The other one is for a new pump.
and both are JCH?
Yes, ma'am. Currently, any pump that we have mostly is flight throughout the city in our lift stations. We've started making some variable changes, but we send them to JCH because one, they're the closest pump rebuilding company with flight. Okay. So the one quote is a repair tear down. Okay, and then the other one is rebuilding that quote or rebuilding the pump, which is $47,000 plus 12 hours later it's another $1,300. So if you look down to the next one, okay, it is a quotation for a new pump, a brand new with
I
a
just
full.
saw that on the opposite side, but could you tell me,
I'd like to call a point of order in respect to the chair. If the chair can call on individuals, you know,
I have the floor.
out free-handedly. I didn't hear the chair call on anybody, but thank you.
Thank you, Torres. Go ahead, Counselor Pro Tem. Yeah, the floor, go ahead.
Thank you. So my question, Mr. Talcott, is when you did the scope of work, did you do two different scopes? Did you do a scope of work for a rebuild and a scope of work for the pump?
One for a rebuild and the other one's for a new one.
Is there a scope of work available to the committee?
I don't understand. All quotes that have been presented to the committee. I'm not sure what else you need.
I would like to see the scope of work that was presented to these companies.
Okay, I still not sure because we sent the pump to JCH and I went through multiple other companies for quotes for equivalent or close to as equivalent as possible. So the one is in the description of the tear down, inspection, and rebuilding of that one pump. That gives you the description of what is needed to repair the pump. Okay. And the hours taken to rebuild the pump. It will have a less warranty and it'd be basically a used pump that was rebuilt, just kind of like rebuilding your engine in your car. The other one is a quote for a brand new pump of the same equivalent with a new warranty attached to it. Now I have other quotes from other companies to give a brighter element to the cost and availability of different types of pumps.
I understand what you're saying, but there's an issue here because on the paperwork that I'm looking at, you have two different bids from Falcon. One of them says quick ship option. This pump can be manufactured in the USA. There's an $11,000 cost to reduce the lead time 2 to 3 weeks. So to reduce that lead time 2 or 3 weeks, it's an $11,000 cost, correct?
Yes, ma'am. I stated that at the very beginning.
It's very difficult to hear you, Mr. Talcott. Please be patient because I'm having a hard time hearing you myself.
Okay, I understand that full too well. And I can hear you loud and clear for a change.
Yeah. So, but on the other quote that we have, it's not specific to the horsepower, of the unit, the size of the unit, the length of the cord, or the warranty at all. All it says is description 003202950014 MP 3202-095-0014 NP 642-835/463 50-foot FM. So that doesn't tell me that this company is bidding on what this company has bid. That's why I'm asking you, was there a scope of work?
It was asked to get as close as a complement to the original pump, which is a flight pump. Okay.
It is a what pump?
It's a flight pump. The manufacturer is Flight of the original pump.
FLIGHT?
Yeah, it's GCH, and the pump is a Flight, spelled FLYGHT.
FLYGHT.
Yes, ma'am.
And that FLYGHT pump is the same exact model that we currently have?
Yes, ma'am.
So that model versus the Falcon pump, which is almost an $18,000, well, no, yeah, it's almost an $18,000 difference. And lead time is 14 to 16 weeks. Tell me what we're doing right now in regards to that pump.
If we was to purchase that pump,
No, tell me how you're handling that situation today.
well, we have in the lift station currently.
Say that again.
You're asking me how the lift station is being currently handled?
What is being done today?
Well, currently we are still maintaining it as a regular routine maintenance, but we did have a backup pump to throw in there at the time.
And that
Okay.
backup pump is still in place today?
The backup pump is still in place today.
Is that backup pump good enough to last the 14 to 16 weeks that it'll take to get this unit?
Yes, ma'am. We believe so. It has been installed right after this one failed. because we try to keep one pump back up for all lift stations in case of this. Now, currently, we only have a few backup pumps for lift stations, but that's an agenda to be tackled later. But we did have a backup pump at this point. So the idea is to repair or replace the original pump, because we know that the condition of the second pump in there is not good either and could fail at any time. So the idea is to get this pump replaced, and that way we can put this pump back into the lift station and then remove the second pump and pull it out and do some routine maintenance and inspect it and determine if we have to take it back into the shop to be rebuilt, or if we can rebuild the impeller parts ourselves. The longer we wait, the more deterioration of the pump.
Mhm. Okay, I'm gonna make a motion to move this to full council.
Hold on, Counselor Salazar Torres had a question, sir.
Thank you, Sir Chair. I guess, I mean, I just hear nothing but communication back and forth, but so what has been proposed to us has been two different options, right? So before we move this to full council, we want to understand if we're going to motion for consideration of the replacement or rebuild, correct?
If that question's to me, yes, replace or
Mr.
rebuild.
Talcott?
The way that it's stated in the agenda,
Camera in the chambers. So for one, can we turn on the camera in the chambers? Is city manager there by chance?
Yes, he is.
Okay, I can't see. So what is his recommendation? What have we gone through? And then again, I just respectfully ask, Sir Chair, that everybody respects your position, and, you know, we all get a chance and, you know, respectfully follow up and things like that instead of just speaking. That would be greatly appreciated. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Salazar Torres. City Manager, recommendations on this issue?
Mr. Chair, Councilor Salazar Torres, when it comes to these situations, the directors go basically to the finance department. And my finance director, April Moya, is here with us also. And I do believe that he followed the procurement process in regards to how this purchase is going to take place, but I'll yield to the finance director.
And follow up, if I may, procurement process and replace, total rebuild, you know. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Salazar Torres.
Good evening, everybody. So, is my mic on? Is my mic on? Can you hear me? Yes?
Yes.
Okay. And, Counselor Torres Salazar, is that who that was? Salazar Torres, sorry. I didn't hear you quite clearly, so can you please repeat your question? Because your voice is a little bit low and muffled.
All right. Can you guys hear me now?
Mhm.
I'm literally kissing my phone. My question is in respect to the chair's position as well as city manager's position, what the recommendation was. I know this is just a somewhat of an action item passed to full council. Are we asking, so the procurement process, which process was it followed? Was it followed just to replace or to rebuild is my question.
Well, there's two quotes for it, correct, Rodney? To do one or the other?
Actually, there's a total of 5 quotes. 2 was to show the difference between American belt and Chinese belt from Falcon, the rebuilt and new purchase from JCH, and a third quote from Trillium, which we haven't even discussed, but that would make changes. It is also more expensive, and it's $58,000. So that's the choices that I gave present and discuss the differences between each one.
Yes, and the process that he's following isn't doesn't follow along with the procurement process we're going to use to procure the repair or the replacement. It is getting the opinion of the Public Works Committee as to what is their recommendation as to how we move forward to rectifying the situation that he has on hand. So either repair or replace. And the other options
Third
that,
Chair, if I may, follow up.
Salazar Torres, go ahead. Yes, sir.
Alrighty, so I get that, it's replace or repair. I mean, that's very straightforward, but City Manager, what was your recommendation in, speaking with Mr. Talcott and the situation that we're in financially? Should we as a governing body replace this or just simply repair this? I know you said he sent it out for procurement process and whatnot, but we need to know, or I need to know, if this is something that we need to do just full on replace or just fix.
Go ahead, City Manager.
Mr. Chair, Councilor Salazar Torres, again, for me, the recommendation isn't within my purview. This is something that comes directly between directors, and these two directors have been dealing with this, and this is the finance director. So she meets with with the wastewater director, with Rodney, and they put this together. So if it's in the best interest of his budget, and then the finance director is going to say yay or nay. It'll come from her. If it's not in his budget and it's outside of his budget and it's not an emergency purchase, then again, the finance director will make that call. And she will determine if the finances are available and if it is the proper and the right time for this purchase.
Follow up, Sir Chair.
Go ahead, Pro Tem Peggy Martinez, please. Okay, Justin, go ahead. Yes, sir.
Alrighty, Honorable City Manager, with all due respect, it is within your purview. I guess we're seeking your guys' direction. Obviously it's within the budget if it got proposed to us. But we're asking, is it safe just to do a fix? Or should we just fully replace is my question. This is fully within your purview, sir. You should be in contact with Mr. Talcott and see what exactly we need and know what's going to, if it's just a Band-Aid is okay for now. I kind of sort of get where you guys are coming from, but this is within your purview to know what this department needs, what Mr. Talcott has presented. If this is, and I hate that this committee tends to always use emergency purchase because that's all we've done this last 2 months is puro emergency purchases. But we need to know if this is a full replacement need immediately, or we can just do a repair and then proceed forward, and then Mr. Talcott within his budget can proceed forward.
Mr. Chairman.
Hold on.
Chair, Commissioner, Councilor Salazar Torres. Again, understanding the process. I don't get involved in the finances because that was under my preview from the council direction to hire a finance director. Finance director's job is to make assure that these budgets are formatted, and that if the wastewater director needs this purchase, and I'm going to correct you because it's not an emergency purchase. So this purchase can be something that he can outline and meet with her to meet his needs. That's something he has a conversation with her. Rodney has not had this conversation with me. This is directly between him and the finance director and within the scope of his budget.
Thank you, Pro Tem Martinez.
Thank you. So the way it's presented to us in the agenda is request for a purchase pump for KDC lift station presented by Mr. Talcott. I've made a motion to go ahead and forward it to full council. I think it's important for the whole entire council as a whole, not at a committee, to decide whether this this is a fix or a replace. I think when every counselor has an opportunity to study the numbers and to see what the cost differentiation is between the replacement and the rebuild, I think everyone should have an opportunity at that information without us having to make that decision here. And it doesn't call for a decision for us to choose one of the companies at this level. So my motion stands to request a purchase pump for KDCA lift station to be forwarded to full council for a decision at that time.
Go ahead, Financial Director.
Excuse me. Counselor Justin Salazar Torres, just in response to your questions, Rodney and I have had several conversations on the priorities that he has for his wastewater treatment plant. We reviewed his budget. We're doing some other budget reviews to see on that list from his critical purchases to lower level purchases. And from our understanding, based on our decision as to what purchases he needs to make so far, it was to be presented to this committee as a need to know and for discussion as far as the repair or the replacement. So as far as the procurement myth, that is something that myself and my certified procurement officer will take first, how is we are going to procure this. And I understand that does need to go in front of the full council, but I believe he brought this here today just for discussion. And correct me if I'm wrong, Rodney, I didn't know he was bringing this today. So I'm just giving some clarification as to what I know and the discussions we've had.
Thank you. Counselor Benavides.
Sir, Chair.
I'll yield to Counselor Torres if he has another question.
Counselor Torres.
Thank you, Counselor Benavides. So this totally sounds like a cabal, and I only quote the Grinch because we're in the holiday season. But I feel that yes, it is our responsibility as a committee to hear this. We can't just wipe our butts with full governing body to pass this on and just have them vote and decide on whatever needs to happen. No, we are a committee. We need to make decisions. We need to know what the heck we're voting on, what's going on, and instead of having 5-hour council meetings and having committee meetings during council meetings, we need to decide this at this level. That's what we're here for. That's why we have it. We're not here to have full agenda meetings with full committees that are there. So I would like to make a request to table this and that we get proper leadership in the sense of knowing what we need to do, whether it be full replacement or just a repair. So I would like to see the line item be a repair or replacement the next time it comes before this committee. So my
May I make a comment?
motion is to table this.
One second, Mr. Talcott. Counselor Benavides.
Thank you, Chair. I think there is like a lot of confusion because it sounded like it was already procured, but now it sounds like it's not procured. So it hasn't gone out for RFP or anything as of yet, right? So so it's just on the agenda as a discussion item, right? And so, yeah, I think there's just a whole lot of confusion just based on the way that it was presented. So if it was just truly intended for us to just have a discussion, whether, it's a new purchase or a rebuild or whatever the case may be, I think the agenda does say purchase, but I mean, then I think we do need to have full discussion if the discussion's warranted, right? Like Councilor Salazar said, why send it to council without even having a discussion? Because we're going to land up having the entire discussion during council, which, I mean, it should be prepped and ready for us to just vote at that point, in my opinion. I mean, some of the other councilors might have questions, but I mean, I don't even know if it's in Mr. Talcott's budget at this point.
Counselors, I just stated that it was in his budget.
Well, I'd like to see his budget.
Sir, Chair, you have
Whenever
a
we have
motion to
meetings, I'd
table.
like to see the budget because I have no clue whether we even have a current budget because the current one is yet to be approved. So, when we have these meetings, we need to have the entire information in front of us because I'm already sick and tired of coming to a council meeting and we don't have the proper information. So like Councilor Torres stated, going forward, we need all of the information to make the proper decisions to be able to assist as directors with their purchases or non-purchases.
Thank you, Benavides. There was a motion made to table the discussion item. Do we have a second?
Second,
Okay. BJ, need to take roll, please?
And just for purposes of clarification, if we may, it doesn't say discussion item, okay? The agenda states, if you give me 1 second, it states, request to purchase. So this is an actual recommendation item, just by the verbiage. So this is just a table to request the purchase pump for Cadiz lift station, to be pushed to the next, committee meeting. This is not a discussion item. It does not say discussion on it.
correct.
Thank you.
That's the
Salazar
confusion.
Torres, I was just reading, because it was under the discussion recommendation items to full council.
Sure, but but Honorable Chair, if I may, it says request. It should say
Yes, sir.
discussion for the pump, not request.
Well, it's an action item. It's listed as an.
Okay, so go ahead.
Chairman Aaron Salazar,
Against.
Mayor Pro Tem Peggy Sue Martinez,
Against.
Counselor Justin Salazar Torres,
In favor.
Counselor Denise Benavides.
In favor.
So the motion dies. It is 2-2. Yes?
So therefore, it gets tabled, Sir Chair.
You need a point of order.
Uh,
Parliamentary requires one more than half to have a majority of any motion to be passed. One more than half in a committee of 4 would be 3 votes. The motion was tied at 2-2, so that means you do not have a majority, so the motion fails, so the table is failed.
All right, Honorable Chair, if I may continue on that, sir.
There's a motion on floor. Hold on 1 second, Mr. Salazar Torres. So it's asking to present to full council. Do we have a motion?
I have a motion. I made that motion to present it to full council, but before we do, I have one question to pose to Miss April. So when we've seen these bids here, April, this has not gone out to RFP then?
Mayor Pro Tem, no, it has not. And just for clarification purposes, I think this is something that I think is, I'm new here and I'm trying to help my customers, which are the rest of the employees of the city, on how to do their procurements and help my certified procurement officer be able to do their purchases. And this is something I've seen on this committee now and now with the council meetings is I have uncertainties as to what the expectations are of the council members as well as the committee members. And I'm being posed these questions by, let's say, for example, Rodney. I didn't know Rodney was going to put this on the agenda today. And I apologize, Rodney. I'm not trying to call you out. I just want to have some clarification and transparency here. In order for me, I think that there needs to be some sort of process or discussion that I understand as the finance director so that I can also communicate to them that they know what needs to be put on a committee for discussion or action item versus what needs to be put on the agenda for committee. So I'm never working for a municipality. I don't know what the process is as far as what needs to be presented before we do the purchases. I've been trying to get clarification for that. So Rodney may have misunderstood that process. So I apologize that there's some miscommunication here, but again, I think there needs to be more communication and expectations because I'm hearing we should have this, but there is no formal process or procedure in place I can follow to be able to provide that information.
Thank you, Pro Tem Martin.
I'm gonna withdraw my motion to forward to full council because I too don't believe that it's quite ready because I thought because we had bids, it had gone out to an RFP process. So that's
Correct.
where the confusion is.
Yes.
I think that like one of these bids is to Steve Cordova, the other one is to Mr. Talcott. I think it's important for us to utilize the procurement office for the purposes that it was intended for and to follow the laws of the state of New Mexico and Total as far as procurement is concerned. So Mr. Talcott, the way I believe things should work, I'm not the do-all, say-all, I'm not in charge of anybody. Let me make that clear. But the way I believe that it should work is that we create the scope of work,
Mhm.
whether he wants to repair it or he wants to replace it. And after he creates a scope of work, he tells us the horsepower, the length of the cord, everything he needs, whatever specifications that pump meets, then he puts that specific pump out to RFP and gives everybody a fair chance at that opportunity. And then when the bids come in, whenever they come in, then that should get presented at committee and at full council. This committee will forward to full council. I also believe that it's important for full council to have the whole picture as far as what bids were presented, who created the RFP process, how it was advertised, who bid the process, how the process were opened, how the bids were opened, who was present at that time, and what the recommendation is from the city manager's office for purchase. At that point, the council can decide, we're not going with your recommendation, we think this is a better deal, or we are going with the recommendation. That's the way I believe procurement should happen. Now, I'm not the do-all, say-all. I'm just saying from my perspective, when I get bids like this at my desk, I think it already got procured. It already went through an RFP process. And then I'm hearing that it didn't. So I think we sort of put the cart before the horse in this situation. But it's all a learning process for everybody. And I'm hopeful that we can get the RFP going, get Mr. Talcott what he needs to be successful in his job, and make sure that we don't have another pump go down while the spare pump is on that area. So it's all timely too. It's not just a matter of push it back, push it back. We have to hustle for our departments and make sure that they have what they need to cover the constituency.
Sir Chair.
Counselor Salazar Torres.
Thank you, sir. You know, I'm not trying to be, for lack of better terms, a hard ass. But in this sense, you know, the motion to table to pass it on to the next meeting would have been more wise than to take pride and vote against. Because then therefore this thing wouldn't have died and it could have stayed alive and could have come forward to us again. Instead of saying, oh, we're pushing it off, pushing it off, pushing it off. I hate in committees that we tend to push stuff off and kill things that shouldn't have been killed in committees. Therefore, I mean, y'all voted for a motion to table was just to bring it forward again so this doesn't fall to the wayside and it just gets thrown away and we forget about it. I appreciate Mrs. Moya's diligence in this. Mr. Talcott, thank you so much. But we, you know, if our city manager does not know what's coming before or what needs to be fixed or what needs to be done, nor do we know if, you know, one of the big questions is I get replace or repair. It's either or. You know, are we in a situation right now to just repair? Or do we really need to just replace? You know, these are things that our manager needs to bring before us and can't say, you know, no, sir, you're going to correct. No, you don't correct me because I understand what happened in this process. I know what happened. We know where it failed. That's why we're in the predicament we're in right now. So, Mr. Talcott, my recommendation is that you give your wholehearted opinion to the city manager. You're the wisest man in this department and what you need, and tell him this is what needs to happen. Replace or repair, you can't give this governing body an option because we're going to sit here for 5 hours for a council meeting and it debating whether to replace or repair, because that's what always happens. So we need to know what we need to do, straightforward, shoot from the hip and tell us what we need to do. City manager, I wholeheartedly encourage you to get with Mr. Talcott and you guys let us know. I hope this comes back to this committee because y'all voted against not to table. So then therefore, I mean, we don't have a motion on the floor, but parliamentary procedure, I would recommend, Sir Chair, if you would bring this back to this committee so it just doesn't die out.
It will come back. Thank you, Salazar Torres. Appreciate that. We'll go to the next item, the department reports. We'll start with wastewater department, presented by Superintendent Rodney Talcott.
Yes. Most of our standard projects and report is the same as October. Extended same routine maintenance, rotting sewer lines, multiple weekly PMs, and so forth. Continuing with daily, weekly liftation PMs and cleaning and inspections. South UV, North UV, we have been rotating on a monthly basis. But we went to rotate it this month, and we have a valve that failed. We cannot open it. So after a little bit more research and seeing how we can physically repair it in line, that's where we're at this point with that. As previous stated, the centrifuges are now currently running. We continue with a monthly PM on those. Grounds maintenance is also continuing, weed whacking, capri, snow removal, sweeps, drives, and so forth. Plant operations is inspected daily with daily PMs, running a thickener, dewatering machine as needed, clean clarifiers on a daily, plant inspections, and turning sludge as needed for continuing with biosolids removal. We also have been contracted with San Juan to test DOs and pH, and therefore they can we accept their sludge if providing they pass those parameters set forth on DOs and pH. Reuse pumps. We currently had a failure. It was caused by an electrical surge, and it destroyed 2 VFDs. To those pumps. Currently, I'm waiting for the manufacturer. This is a sole source pump, and it will be presented as soon as I get the results back from this. And this would be considered an emergency repair. Again, all heavy equipment is on a routine maintenance, PM and greasing. We are following forth on grease trap inspections with planning and zoning, and we're going to up that increase of inspections with city restaurants after the first of the year. There'll be a dual effort between planning, zoning, and collection systems. Now, as stated earlier, we had an inspection with EPA. That has been, the report has been received, and we have responded to it. And steps have been taken to correct all issues the EPA have with the compliance of the plant, including with hiring an instructor for microbiology and lab training, which is duly needed at our wastewater plant. Again, it's already mentioned KDEC. We had installed an Eaton strainer, which was highly affected during the flood back midsummer, and it's been installed and it is working perfectly. Continuation, ongoing weekly PMs on tile outs, daily lift station PMs, ongoing cleaning inspections, and unit 377. That is the front end loader had its fuel injections replaced because they failed due to an operator error about 2 years ago, putting DEF into the fuel. Any questions?
Councilors, any questions? Comments? No, sir. Thank you, Mr. Talcott. Appreciate the report. Next, we have the General Service Department presented by Mr. Jeff Sargent.
Good evening, committee chair, members of the Public Works Committee. You should have my report in front of you. I do have a little bit of information regarding some of the items on the list. Regarding the animal shelter, all work orders have been completed to date. Notwithstanding any new work orders that come in from day to day. The second item was Amazon lease space. We were having heating issues with two of the units that serve the gymnasium for that staff. We had one that was fixed temporarily, but I had to pay an outside contractor, an HVAC contractor, to come and run new dedicated thermostats for that system. And that work has been completed as of last Wednesday. We are working on work orders. General Services did assist the Streets Department with doing the decorations at City Hall, outside and inside. So those, I believe, are complete. Let me see anything else. Ranchitos, the CDBG for Ranchitos Park, got a email today from Jacqueline from RMA Advisory regarding that Stephen Lacey, our DFA counterpart, wanted some more definition regarding some of the items on the scope of work. So Superintendent Elijah Mares and myself will be going over tomorrow morning and getting those questions answered. Other than that, I stand for any questions.
Councilors Salazar Torres, any questions? Councilor
I
Benavides?
do have one question, if I may.
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. Have we done the restriping there at Ranchitos just in the parking lot and then mitigated the concrete block and stuff that we had talked about when we went on our tour?
Committee Chair Salazar and Councilor Salazar Torres, regarding that, the striping was completed and that was done by Superintendent Elijah Mares and his Streets Department. As far as anything else, I will defer to him when it comes his time to do his presentation, that he might be able to answer your question.
Sounds good. I appreciate you, Jeff. Thank you so much.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Salazar Torres. Any other questions, Councilor Benavides?
Nothing, Chair. Thank you. Thank you, Jeff, for all that you do, all your work and for your report.
Yes, ma'am.
I have a question.
Councilor Rotem Martinez?
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Sergeant, for the work that you and your staff are doing. I'm curious about the cooling, needing cooling for the Convento and the Misión, awaiting a contractor to give a quote for new units for offices. Is that gone through an RFP process in itself?
No, ma'am. I'm actually going to have to make a different scope of work based on the issues that have been presented by the first contractor that had given me a quote. He pointed out some issues that I had not seen. So I will be creating a new scope of work and then putting that out to a bid process before bringing it to Public Works Committee for action.
And you'll be utilizing the procurement office here in the city?
Yes, ma'am, that is correct. I am also, just since we're communicating, you had requested some information regarding the lighting up above the bond house. So I have a contractor that is going to give me some information regarding the actual conversion of the existing lighting system to an LED system without replacement of fixtures, or retrofitting is the appropriate term, and versus replacement of the actual fixtures as you had communicated to me. So that is something that I am working on. And that's about it at this point.
Thank you, Mr. Sergeant, for following through on the concerns for lighting in that area. I appreciate that.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Councilor Martinez. Mr. Sergeant, any update on the safety of the building there in Ranchitos, that old concession stand? What are we gonna do with that building?
No, sir, at last information that I had received, we were gonna put that out for public input before a decision was made either to repair it or to demolish it.
Okay,
And I do not know if any action has been taken on the upper level administration side on that.
Councilor Salazar Torres?
Thank you, Chair. And Mr. Sergeant, or this might go under Elijah, I'm not sure exactly who, but street lights on North McCurdy, there's been a lot of vandalism and break-ins and a lot of folks, I guess, just walking around that they shouldn't be. But there is a constituent had told me, and I can't quote this, but it was about 13 street lights on North McCurdy at the end, and I'm talking at the tail end. So some may be on Okeo Wingate, Pueblo land, but they're out. So they would like to see, and I can give you an address. I don't want to give it publicly, but just get a hold of me and I'll give you
So
the address. But
Yes,
they're
sir.
out. So I want to know if we own those or whether it be Hemes.
I will defer that question to Superintendent Elijah Mares, as that is one of the things that he oversees being in the streets department, sir.
Okay, great. Thank you, Jeff. Appreciate you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Sergeant. Appreciate that. Next item is the Sanitation Department, presented by Foreman Lawrence Lucero. Referred to City Manager for the report.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Lucero, my interim sanitation director, could not be with us this evening. He takes care of his father in the evening, his elderly father. He takes care of him, so he couldn't be with us. He's taken on a pretty big challenge, but I've met with him already on several occasions. And it's keeping up with the day-to-day operations, the frustrations. He's still fully staffed with the exception of the former director. And myself have been in meetings and contact with North Central and following up with how we can save this community more money. And not going back to North Central. By no means, I want to make that very clear. We're going to sustain and build on our sanitation department locally in the city. However, when you look at what we're paying out for the transfer of our garbage and our trash to Rio Rancho, how much we pay MCT for rollovers that are being placed at commercial properties and stuff like that, that we could do better. We could serve our community better by cutting those costs and going back and working with North Central and in that capacity. We've had those discussions with North Central. We're looking at that. I've kept Mr. Lucero abreast of this. Nothing is concrete. They are only discussion, but we are looking at cutting costs where we can and rebuilding and that's why the finance director is here sitting next to me, because we have to rebuild the whole billing system. We were left in a kind of a strong bind when the former utilities managers left. And so we look to rebuilding that, building commercially, and billing locally is, of course, the sanitation bill is combined with the water bill. So, but as it pertains to the commercial, it's a little bit different. We've discovered a few things that we need to address, and I can assure you, since I turned over this department to the finance director, that it's been addressed. She's taken that fully on. And I can't wait to, when we have the finance committee meeting, so she could be more expressed as what she's done, the monies that she's discovered that we were potentially going to lose, monies that were reapportioned somewhere else, how she's been able to keep the doors and the communications open with DFA, NMFA, everyone else. She's taken this challenge on, and I'll let her take it from here as far as sanitation.
Good evening again, counselors. So I was gonna go over my report for the utility. Am I out of order? Or are we only speaking sanitation right now?
Right now.
I think maybe I should wait so I can do that
Do you
as
have
one
anything to say
standard.
about sanitation as far as the billing?
Well, what I found is that sanitation pretty much hasn't had any recovered billing. So we are paying for sanitation services and there was never any implementation to recover those funds into the utility department. So we have currently been doing sanitation services, doing the trash services provided to the city. However, we have been paying out MCT, other contractors that have been involved in assisting us with that, but we have not been recouping the funds that have been paid out for these services. We are only collecting the base service of them having the trash service. So for example, MCT, we are being billed monthly for the commercials and we are paying out MCT, but there was nothing in place prior to recoup those funds to come back into the city. So those revenues are not coming back to us. We're paying out, cash flow out, no cash flow in. I have one of my staff members in the utility department right now who has at this point found, thanks to a few people who were involved in the process, about 74,000 so far that we found that's been paid out that hasn't been billed back out to our commercial customers for clarification. So we are providing services, but that is not being put onto the bills so that we can be reimbursed for what's being paid out to MCT. So prior to the former director leaving, I was trying to get a hold of what would have been paid out to North Central to be able to provide services for the sanitation. That is kind of on a somewhat of a hold. I'm going off what he gave me before he left, but I'm kind of in the same position as I was when I entered the utility billing department with no processes or procedures left behind. I have found some cents that are probably date out to about 2000. They're very old. I'm trying to use them to work the utility billing office so that we can have some kind of processes and procedures to carry out billing, to recover past due accounts, to do anything. When this goes back to water too, I know we're speaking about sanitation, but they all kind of coincide with each other. So I'm working on revising and editing those current policies that we do have. So that's taking me quite a bit of time. I'm also working on training because the staff was left with very little to no training, so they know what they know, and that is not their fault. But in order to, I think the whole utility billing office needs to be revamped to include this new sanitation department that was absorbed. So there's a lot of work that needs to be done in there. And I'm just being completely honest with you. I'm working on the finance department. I was tasked to run the utility billing department as well, because we don't have a supervisor, which we are trying to fill that position. So I'm in and out of there, and daily I'm dealing with a lot of things that, for one, recovering a large amount of uncollected bills, past due bills, no disconnects. And again, that's water, that's not sanitation, but sanitation is a real problem we need to get our hands on. That's just a little piece of the puzzle. I'd like to give you a more updated report, but I'm still trying to get my head around it. But what I will tell you is that we need to get the revenues collected for the sanitation services that we're providing.
Thank you. Question, Councilor Pro Tem Martinez?
So basically, you're telling me that at some point, the city of Espanola did not create a mechanism to bill the service that they were providing to some of the businesses.
Correct. A multitude. of services.
So businesses have continued to get service from the city of Espanola. We've continued to pay for that trash to be transferred. We continue to pick up that trash, but we hadn't had a mechanism in place to bill for it.
Correct.
Wow. Well, thank you for finding that out for us, and thank you for the job that you're doing for us.
And my current staff has been diligent in helping with trying to do that, so.
And I'm very grateful for them and what they're trying to do. And I'm also grateful that you understand the importance of having everybody trained to the highest level possible. And I agree with that in total. So thank you again for what you're doing.
Thank you, Pro Tem. Counselor Justin Salazar Torres.
Sir Chair, Councilor Benavides has had her hand up for a bit, so I'll yield to her and then I'll go after Councilor Benavides. Thank you.
Counselor Benavides.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Councilor Torres. Just a quick question regarding sanitation. It was brought to my attention that we never invoiced for any of the commercial billing. Therefore, we have not been paid for commercial billing since quite some time, probably since the finance director previously was suspended. Is that now something that has been clarified? Have we invoiced? Because that commercial is a large dollar amount. So have we billed or invoiced for that so that we can recoup that money? And if we haven't, have we thought up a plan how we're going to do that now after all these months have passed?
Go ahead, City Manager.
Mr. Chair, Councilor Benavides, your former finance director had nothing to do with billing of utilities. That was managed by someone else.
Absolutely, City Manager, but he oversaw it. And that wasn't my question. I'm not asking anything about the previous finance director. My question was, have we invoiced for that commercial billing so that we could recoup those funds? Because it was brought to my attention that we have not invoiced in quite some time. So that revenue is out there somewhere waiting for us to collect it.
Counselor Benavides, April Moya, Finance Director, just to respond to that, my staff has put together, I'm not sure if I communicated that clearly. We spent probably the last two weeks and recovering that and trying to pull out any invoices that we have paid out from the city for these services. They have been added to the billing for November, and they will be, for December. So for the current billing period, the ones that we have got our hands on right now, and we have streamlined the process. We have 3 individuals that are involved in it and trying to be able to capture all of these invoices as we're paying them out so that we ensure that we in turn bill our customers. So we are getting a handle on it. I just wanted to bring to the attention that we had some revenues that were that were already lost, and they are now being recovered.
Thank you, April. Counselor Salazar Torres.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair. I guess first and foremost, April,
Yes.
God bless you. You're taking on so much. I hope City Manager kind of realizes you're taking on a lot, and I appreciate you for that. Secondly is, so they're going to be billed now in December, so that leads me just to one simple question. Is it going to be a surprise now to these businesses during the Christmas season that they're going to be billed for? Do we know how many months prior? Do we know what they're getting billed for?
So in response to that, yes, you are correct. That's a decision that I made because the way I determined that was most people have utility bills that would be any business. And we know that we have a monthly utility bill. And in the event they know that they are being provided trash services, they would know that they haven't been billed for those services. And they did not reach out to us to ask, why have I not been billed? They will reach out if we're warning on a disconnect on any kind of service, or if there's something wrong with their bill where we charged them incorrectly. So it was a bit of a surprise to me that none of these companies, and I will take that back because there were 2 companies, two commercials that did send an email that I got that had been kind of bounced around from the former, I was forwarded all the emails from the former manager. And so eventually they made it to my desk top saying, I haven't been being billed. So there were 2 that reached out, but bottom line is that it is going to be a surprise, but there was no other way to capture this, Counselor. The option was we could start implementing one bill at a time, but how do we ever catch up? So that was decision, that was a question that was posed by my staff. Do we put it all on at once? At the same time, I was simultaneously dealing with the issue of having no process of how to get the billings done. So I was dealing with a multitude of things, and it's just an executive decision that I had to make. And I hope that it does not pose too much of a difficult decision. It doesn't put a burden on the commercial businesses.
And absolutely,
Think that
Ms.
the
Moy,
commercial
I,
businesses
again,
are
I truly
probably in
appreciate
a
you. If I may
different,
follow up.
Position as a residential.
Counselor Salazar Torres.
Follow-up, Chair?
Yes.
And Ms. Moy, I totally agree. I get you. I respect your position highly because, my God, you're being pulled everywhere. But so I guess this is me being naive. Are these businesses are they part of the automatic billing in the sense that they have automatic payments coming out and whatnot that, they may not have seen that they were not being billed for trash, etc. Did we
I don't.
extend
I
a hand to them and say, hey,
I-
just so you know, we messed up, or and
Thank you, Counselor.
Oh,
I would definitely like to take that back tomorrow and put a process in place that we make it a priority to reach out to all of these commercial businesses and give them a heads up so that they can expect to see this on their next billing cycle. I cannot give you an answer right now as to if they are all on, I think what you're referring to is express bill pay, which would be auto pay. Most of the commercial businesses are,
yeah, absolutely. I mean,
they're
with
not
automatic
on
payments, I mean,
auto
just
withdrawal, but I can't say that for 100% of that, but I will go ahead and get that information and I will deal with that accordingly.
thank you. I appreciate that. And then I guess my final question would be is, Mr. John Francisco, is he not with us anymore? Is that what I'm kind of hearing?
Counselor, Mr. Chair, Counselor, I do believe you reached out to my administrative executive to ask that. And so you do know the answer to that question. No, he resigned. I was going to address that in my with my follow-up. I believe I'm on the agenda further down.
Yes, sir.
Chair.
Man, just to follow up, that is a huge loss to the city. I do want to say thank you to Mr. Francisco, because when we took on this endeavor about doing trash and whatnot, he was a go-getter, and he fought for this city. So just want to express publicly, thank you, Mr. Francisco. Thank you for your diligence and what you did for this city. I truly admire it and appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Salazar Torres. Counselor Benavides.
Just really quick, I wanted to see if we had a dollar amount that we knew that needed to be collected on the commercial accounts, because I'm assuming it's a huge amount. Do we know more or less what that amount's gonna be once we collect it?
Counselor Benavides, I apologize. Did you ask what we know right now, what's outstanding total, or what should we expect?
Well,
On a monthly
if we
basis?
know what's outstanding, that's what we should expect, hopefully, if they compare, right? Because
I did
I'm
give
sure
that
that's a huge
information.
amount.
So as of the invoices that we billed as to date, as of yesterday, was 74,472 and 35 cents.
And
we're
that's for
still working
commercial.
on a stack. That's just the ones that we were able to get out as
Okay.
of now.
Because I'm gonna assume it's gonna come out to be in the hundreds of thousands, right?
Yes.
Okay, thank you so much.
Of course.
Thank you, Counselor Benavides. Any other questions? No other questions. We'll go to item F, Field Operations Department, presented by Mr. Mares.
Good evening, Mr. Chair, members of the committee here. First, I want to start off by saying, my apologies. I think this is one of the first times I've ever forgotten a report to go in. I was under the assumption I had put it in there. I'm usually pretty prompt on that stuff there. BJ usually doesn't have to bother me on too much stuff. So I was under the impression I had done it, but apparently I guess I make mistakes sometimes. It's going to be similar to the one that we had there for the council meeting. Not too much has changed on the fact that we are doing a lot of the decorations here. I would like to reach out to Jeff's department. They did help here with City Hall here. They did that. We got them the stuff that they needed. We had it in storage for them. They did an excellent job there. Our parks did a lot of the work there at the plaza area there, and streets did assist with a lot of that there. And we're still working with them right now, trying to get some more done and doing as much as we can there. The season's greetings, of course, we put up. I know everybody always loves when that thing goes up there. It's always a very cold morning when we put it up, but we do it anyway. So just maintaining all the rest of the stuff there. I know we had some concerns. At least we'll start with the streets department. I know some concerns, some of the potholes, stuff like that. We are addressing those. And then we're addressing some of the bigger ones that are more than just a simple pothole. Like some of the areas that are pretty bad there, we do have them scheduled to work with some of our contractors to try to get us some hot mix in there, even though it's a cold time of the season, that they possibly can take care of one. And I know that Kai Hacienda was a big point of contention there, because it's a big one that kind of reoccurs there. So they're going to be able to take it down and hopefully get there, and we'll get that with some hot mix on that one.
Where was that again? Sorry.
The Kaya Hacienda.
Kaya Hacienda.
That's right there by Food King and where you exit out of the gas station there. When that was built, the city we were involved in it in part by funding part of it, but it was another company that came in that built the gas station that built that section of it right there. So it is what it is. It's just that side of town is always notorious for that kind of stuff. Still working on getting the stripers out here. It's just working with their schedules and stuff like that, trying to get, the nicest days, of course. Last week was a little different than this week. Now it's sunny. I'm out here in t-shirt. Last week was a little colder. So we did have snow removal, of course, on those days there. We came out, assisted with everybody that we could there, made sure the streets were cleared here for the city of Espanola. I don't have too much more to report on Fleet. Fleet is pretty much where it's been right there. They're doing really good there. We're going to be trying to expand that department a little bit more to try to, move out services even more to the city and try to just take care of more stuff in-house rather than sending money out. So we're still going to be working on that here pretty soon. Parks department, like I said, they're doing a lot of work there. The three of them are doing excellent there. They're putting up all the stuff there. I'm not having to go and run through them step by step. So they're doing really well there. They're taking it upon themselves to do an excellent job out there. And if you get a chance on the way home tonight, just drive by there. There's more lights. Every time I go out there, they're adding more. So we keep us adding more. And is there any questions?
Thank you, Mr. Mares, for appreciated. Counselor Martinez.
Thank you, Mr. Mares, for the job that you and your staffs are accomplishing for our community. Specifically, the decorations, of course, like I mentioned before. I think it's a very special time when we can celebrate the holidays in our community, and I think it brings an opportunity for us to be involved with our culture, with food and everything else that comes with luminarias and farolitos and all of those beautiful things that are Hispanic and native to this area. And I appreciate what you guys are doing. Concerning some of the calls that I've had have been Calle Miramontes was pretty torn up by the trucks when they were creating the credit union. The trucks that were turning in there and the construction that was happening there pretty much tore up that whole front area there. There's an area exiting, which would be on the south lane exiting Miramontes, that I've received a lot of concern about. I'm also curious where we're at with the repave on Miramontes, and if we've had an opportunity to meet with DOE for the easement on the drainage issue. If we've had an opportunity to meet with them to see whether or not we're going to be allowed to connect to that drainage line that the state of New Mexico is going to be putting in. So I'm curious about that. And then I know that this is not your purview, but there are many signs on the west side that are graffitied, the stop signs and all of that. So I don't know if you guys work with the graffiti officer, how that happens, but it's a possibility that we could look at that. And then I'm wondering also if there's a product that we could spray the signs with that doesn't allow the paint to stick on the signs. Do you know if there's a product like that available?
Okay, to address some of your stuff here, Miramontes, I already have somebody that's gonna be going out tomorrow to kind of deal with that. because it's still under the engineering phases on there. So we won't be able to do any kind of actual paving, which we would love to be able to do, but we're not gonna be able to do it. So we will address those concerns you did have on there. As far as working with NMDOT, I believe we have a meeting with them on Thursday, so we'll be able to ask those questions on where we're at on there, because they're the ones that are negotiating the drainage right now on their behalf, because they're the ones that already had the existing easements, and I know they had to look at upgrade because of all the stuff they have going on. And unfortunately, it's an extremely slow process that just, it is what it is on there. We can't change much on that. Graffiti, I do get a lot of reports on the graffiti there. People call me directly, and then I'll refer them back to Zach and to the judge's department there, and they're the ones that kind of handle that. Most of our signs have especially the stop signs, have a coating on there. It's a plastic coating to help protect from graffiti. And sometimes, depending on what types of chemicals or anything that you use like that to remove the paint, or what type of paint is on there, it'll sometimes remove that cover on there. And it's kind of hard to take anything and spray an oil on there, spray anything that might keep it from doing it, because we got to make sure we have the the reflectiveness on there, or actually retroflective on there, in order to have proper illumination on there. So when the stop signs do get real bad, we replace those, and some of the other ones on there. It's just, there's so many that happen there on a regular basis. It's hard to keep up with that, and it gets very expensive.
Terrible. Thank you, Elijah, again, for the job that you do for the city of Espanola. I'm greatly appreciative of your work.
Thank you, Pro Tem. Questions, comments, Councilor Torres?
I did have a couple little things I did want to mention.
Thank you, Chair.
Oh, okay, there you go. I figured it was just.
All right, sorry. The kiddos were here jumping around. The only question I had was, have we mitigated that concrete block there in Ranchitos Park? Because I've had a few people that state that, but just wondering what we've done to mitigate that concrete block that a lot of people have hit, that is painted the same color as as everything else.
As far as that goes right there, we haven't removed it yet, because it is part of the original electrical work that's on the lighting there. So we are going to have to get someone there, but it has been painted since the day we striped. That same day they painted it, the safety yellow that we use on speed bumps and everything else. So it does stick out. It does not blend in anymore, which it was never quite the same thing. It was just kind of faded blue that was on there. So hopefully with the lines there, they'll see that they're running through a parking lot rather than trying to use the parking lot as the road to avoid speed bumps. It's just the way the road was designed. So unless they're driving to the parking lot, assuming that they're going to head into the baseball field, they should be good on that.
Thank you, Elijah. Appreciate you.
Lighting, I know you had a question about the lighting on North McCurdy. I'm gonna have to do a light survey on that, and those are all gonna be on the Hemis side, but I have to get poll numbers and see which ones are actually out, so they'll go out and they'll tend to those.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Salazar Torres. Continue. You had more on your report, Maris.
I think that's pretty much what I have right now. Like I said, everything is back from there. I mean, I have my report from last month, or from the council meetings, but a lot hasn't really changed in that, on the fact that we are doing, the decorations like that. And we have addressed some of the other things that I know have been brought to our attention. So we're trying to keep up on all that right there.
Okay, thank you. Councilor Benavides, did you have any questions, comments?
From me, Chair, thank you so much. Elijah, thank you for everything you and your entire team do. Just one comment, the Christmas lights, signs, everything look amazing. I was wondering if we had more for Riverside Drive, since it's the main drag that everybody follows to get to their destination. Be great to see a lot more on Riverside Drive.
As
If
far
not,
as
maybe we could add it to our budget for next year.
yeah, and as far as right now, we don't have any decorations on there, and lighting gets a little difficult on those, because the poles, not all the poles belong to us, and not all the lighting systems are set up for that kind of stuff. But as far as any other types of banners or anything like that, I have to see about increasing the budget for that. I mean, I haven't really looked at it, but I know just a set of about 6 or 7 flags was about $1,600 to replace just at the plaza alone. So that could run into the thousands, because you're gonna need brackets and everything else, and everything's gone up so much. So I can look into it and get us a base price, but we do have like 101 poles, I believe, on Riverside alone. So
maybe Hemis would partner with us and contribute some money for some Christmas decorations.
We could
no?
do like we do on Oñate, which is, you know, the
Right.
banners and stuff like that. But as far as lighting, we wouldn't be able, that would get extremely difficult. But
Yeah.
the banners is something we could possibly look into.
Yeah. Thank you, Elijah.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Amadas. Really appreciate your department, all that you guys do, lighting and everything else. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Item G, Utility Department, will be presented by April Moya.
While I wait. Okay, thank you for everybody for having me here this evening. Again, I have a basic report that outlines the recent utility billing update undertaking addressing the challenges stemming from the personnel turnover, working on recovering past due accounts and trying to work on enhancing revenue collection. I mentioned earlier a little bit of what I'm working on, which is again, a focus on implementing some new policies and procedures and standard operating procedures based off the ones I found and creating new ones. I have been working with the staff in my utility office to do that with Bryce. And I've also asked BJ to help in that area because she has worked on that prior. So just to get some heads around people who have dealt with the utility billing department before and working on bringing the billing situation back on track. Again, as mentioned, there was personnel turnover. So the utility billing office faced some challenges due to this turnover, leading to some gaps again in process and procedures, but efforts are being made daily to fill these gaps by working with staff, learning what they're doing, learning how to implement a new process so that everybody is trained on how to do the billing because upon my arrival, only one individual knew how to do that billing. We have worked with our foreman, we have worked with Bryce, I have worked with my 3 girls in utility billing office, and we have worked with the 3 different systems that work with getting the billing process, which includes our Casal accounting software, as well as Itron, which is a foreign software that we've been dealing with. One issue that came across is that the Itron system that we were using to help with get our meeting reads turned out to be a test trial that the utility billing department had been using for 4 years. So that was another issue that I came across, is that we have been paying from the services of Itron for again, a test environment. And that was discovered by our IT department. We have a really good new IT director who assisted with trying to get a hold of the billing issue. So that also created somewhat of a billing delay.
Can I ask?
Yes, go ahead.
So basically, we were in a test mode for this Itron programming instead of being full-fledged on their programming, which left the city somewhat vulnerable to some extent.
To security attacks, correct. And that information was provided from Gerardo Chavez, Diaz, I apologize, who is our new IT director. And it was just by luck, to be honest with you, because we were trying to figure out between Itron and Casal how to get this, the meter reads and the billing out. And upon his arrival, we had an issue with Itron. I asked him to move it from one computer to another so that we could do the billing a little quicker and have a more efficient process instead of bouncing around to offices. And upon him researching that and getting in touch with Itron, he's the one that discovered that we were on a test mode for 4 years.
So,
And it was, and his exact words were that the city of Espanola was vulnerable to a multitude of security breaches because of that.
was there compensation from the company being that we didn't actually have their protection?
I am in the process of working on recovering that.
That's my question.
You're welcome. So again, we're working on trying to get the staff all trained so that everybody knows not just the utility billing, but my goal is to get the entire utility billing staff to be cross-trained in every single task that is done by the utility billing department. So when somebody leaves, everybody knows how to do the job. We have a streamlined written process. We have training when one is out and there's never a ball dropped in the process. I intend to also be trained in that. So I have been over the shoulder at times on some of my staff to be able to try to learn some of these processes. We have a meeting set up for later this week with some of our field operations and some of our utility billing to make sure our communication is there so that we can understand when we're getting meter reads, because there's a little lapse of communication there, so that we can streamline that process. Again, to address deficiencies in the existing system, I'm looking at other options, which will probably come down the road on if there's another way we can do our billing, another way we can do our meter reads. This seems like a very outdated system. It doesn't seem to be very reliable from what I've seen. The meter reads are off and on. They fluctuate. Sometimes we're getting inaccurate reading. There's a lot of work orders being done because of this. Again, there might be a glitch on the system. It may be a human error. I'm trying to wrap my mind around that as of now. We are going to set up a training with Casell that will also help us in that process, again, so that everybody is trained properly and all the staff is familiarized with the new updates. And that way, when we also get a new supervisor/manager, they are also on board with how to carry out these tasks and they can adhere to new protocols. Again, I'm working on the SOPs, as I mentioned earlier, for that entire department. The old ones that I found by luck that were on a desktop from a former utility worker. I was provided about 4 of them, but they go back to 2000. So they're very, very old, but they're the best that I have. And I feel that those are the best that I could implement right now, or at least ensure that our staff is following to carry out the duties of the utility billing office. We are also working endlessly right now and acknowledging the excessive number of past due accounts in the utility billing office. This is a 30, 60, 90-day report that I just had run, and one of my staff is working on it, collections. She's worked diligently for the last few days to get it done. She has recovered about 10,000 in the last 2 days, which is not bad. I mean, it was some good work that she did. This includes commercial and residential accounts. I don't want to give any reliable numbers because I'm a little concerned about some of the stuff that the report did pull up. But based on what I can see, there's over 500,000 past due in the over 90 days. The 30 days is a larger amount, and that's the reason I don't want to give that number, because I don't know that that is accurate. And if it is accurate, I will clarify and get that information on our next meeting, but it is a very concerning number. So I have my collection, she's going through some training right now, my collection specialist, on how to reach out to our customers and in a professional demeanor when she makes phone calls. She has a professional standardized email template when she's trying to recover accounts. So she's also able to not only recover the outstanding amounts, but she can have proactive communication with the customers, offering flexible payment plans if and when they are needed, employing collection strategies to ensure that they're legal and ethical boundaries. Again, I mentioned earlier, I'm working on revenue recoupment. So this is a slow effort, but I am working on it. It's going to take a while to get my mind completely wrapped around the revenue that we should be receiving, revenue that we're not receiving. But with all of these past due accounts, we're talking about accounts anywhere from $500, $300, all the way up to $5,000. I have no idea why some of these accounts are even still on. I don't know how we haven't any disconnects. Again, I don't have any past history that I can look at really what has happened. I did check with my department on when the last disconnect notices went out, and I think that was done by, if their memory serves them correctly, that was done in August 24th of 2023. So a disconnect notices were sent out, and I did go back to the old, again, the policy and procedure that I did find to see what our process is, if there's 1, 2, 3, how many notifications we do. So I actually have that on my list right now, and I have the staff working on that. Unfortunately, it's been brought to my attention that, and I'm going to clarify that we cannot do disconnects between November and January. So what I had in mind and my goal was to get out the next set of disconnect notices and then do the I think it's their little red tags that go on the doors and get people set up for disconnects. But I'm not going to do that until I ensure that I am unable to do disconnects during the winter months. I don't want to have, but again, I don't know also, and I have to verify that, does that include people who have had past due accounts for a multitude of months, or is just somebody that's fallen behind during the tough winter months? So again, we do have an audit going right now. It's a small audit of accounts of billing discrepancies. A large amount of adjustments have been done for a long period of time. There's a really terrible, and I will use that word, a terrible process for doing adjustments for just anybody who claims they have a leak. So we are adjusting accounts. When I walked in to this position, I had a stack come to my desk within about 4 days, 4 to 5 days, about this thick of adjustments that needed to be done that had been pending. Again, these were accounts that were most of them were about $5,000. The process for doing those adjustments, I'm not going to get into a whole lot of detail right now, but it is one that I stopped immediately because I do not think that we should be doing adjustments on these accounts based off what Hemis thinks, because this is the city of Espanola, not Hemis Electric. Monitoring and evaluation. I'm establishing a way to track the effectiveness of any implemented changes that I am making, because I have made some proactive, effective changes, again, because I couldn't find any processes and procedures or SOPs for almost 3 weeks into being over the utility billing office. So I did implement some changes immediately. Now I'm gearing back just to make sure that I'm compliant with the process and procedures that I have found. But you may get some feedback when customers may say, I'm not getting assistance on getting the adjustment done as quickly as it was done in the past. And it's because I have pulled back on that process, because it is not a way that we should be processing adjustments, and it could be a huge audit fine. And the utility billing office was a huge hit on the audit, just to clarify that. So with that said, that's one of the reasons that I am seizing a lot of the practices that we doing right now, that we have been doing, and creating new ones that make more sense for the city. So in conclusion, it's a critical initiative in addressing the challenges that are arising from the personnel turnover and improving our overall efficiency of that utility billing office. As you all know, I am also over the finance department, so I am working both of them simultaneously and trying to do the best that I can. I am only one individual. I do have some good staff that is working hard, and they are following direction around the utility billing office. They are a little overwhelmed because I don't think they've ever had this amount of work put on their shoulders, but they're taking it with a grain of salt and they're doing the best that they can. So I do appreciate my staff, Bryce, BJ, anybody else that has helped in trying to give me any insight or provide any support to help us move forward with getting the utility billing office back on track.
Thank you.
For
Hazel.
that, I stand for questions.
Thank you. Really appreciate it. Thanks for your report. Counselor Salazar Torres.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Mrs. Moya. I appreciate you. I never got any clarification. Our last city council meeting, I asked for this. I know the city manager said he had only heard from Cynthia Lenteni about the sponsorship of the lighting contest, but it was on our city Facebook page or whatever, that we're doing utility credits and whatnot. Have we spoken to our city attorney and whatnot to deem if it goes against our anti-donation clause, or how we're doing this?
Thank you, Counselor Salazar Torres. This was brought to me about 2 weeks ago, that we would be providing the utility billing credit. I have not personally sent out any kind of request for our attorney to review that. If that is something that you would like me to do, I would be happy to do that to ensure that we are not violating the anti-donation clause.
Follow-up, Chair?
Salazar Torres.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, we've been advertising it. Sounds like most of our staff doesn't know about it, but it is something that we've been advertising and doing. I just like us to make sure that we're on the track. And, I am in the competition, but, granted, I win or not, I just want to make sure that everything's kosher, and I want to help those that need help during this holiday season. Thank you for keeping up the the tradition, should I say, of not disconnecting folks and doing things until after the holiday season or sending out notices. I do appreciate that. But we do need to get that kind of ironed out if we're advertising something and we have no clue what's going on. We really need to get our city attorney on board and get everybody else on board regarding that. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. And just to respond to that, I have not sent that to our attorney for review, but I cannot attest to the fact that anybody else has. So I will verify tomorrow to make sure nobody else is in the process of doing that so that I don't do a double effort. Maybe somebody is already on that, but we will ensure that that is taken care of.
Thank you, Salazar Torres. Mayor Pro
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. So my understanding is that when you brought that up in a regular council meeting, that the attorney had addressed it at that meeting and said that he didn't believe that that was anti-donation. That's what I understood.
Follow up to that, he said he had never received information on us doing anything of such, so we had never reached out to him.
Okay, well,
City,
Mr. Chair, Councilor Salazar Torres, Esperanza did forward that to the city attorney. We're still waiting for response. Usually I have a Tuesday morning at 10
May,
a.m. He had
may I
a
ask when that was
had a
forwarded to
medical-
him?
a medical deal.
Salazar Torres.
May I ask when that was forwarded to him? Because it was after the meeting, then everything stands correct. He did state, and you can, Mayor Pro Tem, you're more than welcome to review the video. He said he had no clue about it. City manager stated he had only heard from Cynthia Lenteni about it, but yet it was on our Facebook city website or our Facebook page or whatever it was. So
Can I correct
we've
that,
been
Mr.
advertising
Chair?
for a while.
Mr. Chair,
Go ahead.
Councilor Salazar Torres, not to twist things a little bit, but what I stated was Ms. Lentini posted the anti-donation. Nothing about the light thing, that doing that, giving back to the community in that sense for the lights would be part of the anti-donation, which she posted. That's what I said. Now, as far as when it was sent to the city attorney, I'm not sure, but I will follow up with him tomorrow morning in my conversation with him.
And Chair, just for clarification, I am absolutely on board with this. I mean, it's great to get the community involved, everything. I just want to make sure that we do not put the city and at liability and so forth. I just want to make sure everything's good to go.
Thank you for your concern. Thank you, Salazar Torres. Appreciate that. Any other questions?
I just want to
Martinez?
thank April for the job that you're doing, April. You've encumbered a lot of responsibility, not only within the initial job that you agreed to, but taking on the duties in the billing situation. I don't expect that you will create a whole new policy for billing. I think that this committee can also help you with that, and we should have a workshop, like a half-day workshop, to try and go through what we think needs to change there. We did recently have that issue that happened within the Cook's Mobile Home Park, so I just want to make sure that we're not connecting an old bill to property anymore. And we're starting new with whoever comes in to connect. One of the issues that I know that people have had a hard time with is, like, if there's a death in the family and somebody wants to move an account to a different name, they're being charged $300. I've never seen that in writing anywhere. And I just think that when somebody dies and somebody comes in to change an account, I think it's important for the city to work with that family to change that account as soon as possible to somebody that's willing to accept the responsibility of the account. Because if not, you're actually you're billing a person that no longer exists on this earth. And that bill can land up turning into a headache bill that doesn't get collected, and the city has no recourse in trying to collect it down the road. So I think it's important when there's a death and people present a death certificate, that the city do whatever they can to help that family at that time. So these are little pieces of that policy that I would like to see us be more customer understanding and customer friendly where these things are concerned. One of the issues too is that somebody came they were a landlord that owned a piece of property off of McCurdy. The gentleman moved out, so the landlord came back to continue the water service. At that point, they were forced to go get a document from the county that they were still the owners of the property and all this other stuff. To me, that's crazy. I think if you're a landlord and you've already established that you're the landlord of that property and you decide that you want to keep the utility rolling while you do not have it rented, I think the city needs to work with you on trying to keep that going as long as you're making yourself responsible for the bill that is ongoing to the property at that time. So I think that's another little aspect of how that policy needs to be updated. And like I said, I don't expect that you're gonna do it. I don't think that's part of your job. I'd much rather see you figuring out the cobweb that we have on the other side. And I just want to say thank you, thank you, thank you a million times over for the work that you do for us. You're here after hours, you're committed, you're unraveling a lot of stuff, you've already found a lot of stuff. IT is doing a phenomenal job with just finding out that we were actually in a waiting trial period for 4 years. That's just awful. And that company owes us some money. I think that they definitely owe us some money for leaving us in that kind of a predicament and for having the risk that we ran with what was happening, being in that predicament. So like I said, I just want to thank you for the work that you're doing. You're phenomenal at what you're doing. Thank you for the communication that you continue to have with DFA on our behalf. Thank you for the communication that you have with the department heads and trying to keep everybody under budget. I appreciate every single thing that you're doing for us on the monetary side of things. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. I appreciate that feedback. I don't need it. I appreciate it. Everything that I'm doing is because this is my community and I care about it. That's why I'm here. That's the only reason I'm here, not for anything else. Had I known I was going to walk into the fires I walked into, I may have declined, but I'm happy and I'm proud to be here. I appreciate the support that I have from the council, from committee members, from my city manager, from the mayor, everybody that has been supportive and has been patient with me, and knowing that I'm wrapping my mind around a gazillion things. They have also helped me. City manager has been very helpful. Every day we talk, we communicate about what's going on. There are some things that I don't tell him because I know he has enough on his plate and he's dealing with a lot too. And he's working really hard to do best for the community. I think as a whole, we all have a goal, and our goal is to serve the people of the city. And if we all focus on that goal, and we stray away from all the adversity and all the negativity, and we stay focused on the positive and stay focused on the goal to make this a better place, I think that we'll be a lot more successful. And that is something that I have observed.
Well put.
I appreciate that. But again, I love your idea about the workshop. I'm on board for that because right now I spent I was gone, but I had a pre-approved vacation prior to my hiring that I had asked because it was a vacation I had planned a year in advance. I was out, but I was working. I was working. I was writing utility billing policies, and I came back and it was on my phone, and the girls were laughing because it was in my notes, and I had forwarded it to my email. So that was just the billing. There are other ones, and I love that idea because it brings more minds together, better ideas. I have spent some time poking at other utility departments, City of Santa Fe, Rio Rancho, City of Albuquerque, and finding out what they do. Because I think that just like finance or any other department, if we're working together with our surrounding government entities, we don't have to reinvent the wheel all the time. And that's what I love. I love having that connection with DFA because that helps us here. It helps us working. If you have networking with other government entities, and that's what I've been trying to do even with procurement. So thank you for your support, and I will continue to do the best I can and continue to utilize my staff to work hard to do the best that we can for the city and the people.
Thank you, April. Really appreciate it. Everything that you're doing. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions? No? Okay. Thank you, April. Water Department, Mr. Superintendent Bryce, he is on? Okay, Bryce Abeta.
Good evening, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. I don't have much from this. I have much more from since the city council meeting, and I do apologize for not having a overview in front. I have not had a computer for around 3 weeks. But we are working hard on getting me set up again. My computer went down, but only thing that's changed was we had a big water leak on Sunday. The crew, we've called the whole water department in to assist in this leak here. We shut down over 14 valves again here on the west side on Calle Espinosa. The water never really shut off, so the guys they slowed it down enough to do the repair. But we do have issues with valves, old valves that we need to exercise and these things that I have a piece of equipment that hopefully I can bring towards you guys that will help us in cleaning out these valve cans so we can exercise these valves so we can shut off water, the correct way. But I also want to thank the streets department for assisting yesterday in some rechecks to help with the utility billing. So I thank them, for the assistance. Other than that, I stand by for any questions.
Thank you, Bryce. Really appreciate your report. Any questions for Mayor Pro Tem?
I'm just curious, Mr. Bate, concerning the valve maintenance and us not being able to shut water down when we've had the need to. Can you elaborate a little bit on, do we need to reinvest in these valves? Do we need to grease them? What is the issue?
Mayor Pro Tem. So the issue is these valves on the west side and the lines on the west side are very, very old. And over time they seize up or they no longer close all the way down when you shut them down. So it's still releasing water. So for valve maintenance, what we have to do is we have to go out to the valve. We have to clean out any dirt that falls into the valve can, and then we open and close it. We'll close the valve down and we'll open it a couple of times to exercise so we can get a good seat on it. But it's hard to go out there with with such a small crew. We can't ever go out there and do a good majority of the city with valve maintenance. We can go out one day and do streets, but with utilities, helping with the utilities and meter reading, that takes out 2 weeks out of our month for water that we assist with, so we can get out billing and all that stuff in a timely manner, including work orders. And then we have the other 2 weeks to make sure we're up in maintenance on our wells, make sure there's chlorine. We do check wells every day, twice a day. But because wells are number one for me before anything else. So that's why valve maintenance is more on the bottom, unfortunately, because I want to make sure city has clean, potable water with the staff that we have.
The only other question that I have for you, Mr. Abeta, concerns the testing and the water testing, the quality of the water that we're presenting to the public. Everything's going very well with that still?
Yes, it is. It's going very well. We will have the state coming out tomorrow to test 3 locations as well. So we are staying up to date on all testing. Our back tees have been very consistent. So we really got this the dosage and stuff for the chlorine down to the T. So
right. You're doing an amazing job, Mr. Beta, for our community and the water department. Thank you to your staff for the water break and the fix on Industrial Road Park that would have affected the students not being able to attend school for a day had they not fixed that in a timely fashion. So thank you there to that staff, and also for the issue on Calle Espinosa and having to repair that line when it was partially live. So I just appreciate what they're doing. I know it must be hell to be in a trench in this kind of weather with water in your boots, and that can't be fun. So I just really want to appreciate the staff for the job that they're doing and continue to do for our community to provide safe water to all constituents. Thank you very much.
thank you.
Thank you, Pro Tem. Councilor Salazar Torres.
Thank you, Chair. Literally, they're in the trenches. no pun intended. But thank you, Bryce. But it seems like every director has started out with the same comment of, nothing's changed since we presented to full council. So, Chair, if I may, and City Manager, if you guys wouldn't mind guiding the mayor in the sense of how to present for department reports, that maybe just each chair of each committee report during a council meeting, so we're not sitting there for 2.5, 3 hours during each department and having a full committee report. But every director so far, I think, has said nothing you haven't heard since our council meeting. So if we can maybe just have the chairs report for council meetings, that'd be great.
Thank you, Salazar Torres. Is that it? Any other questions? Okay. Next item is the Public Works Department, presented by City Manager, Mr. Lujan.
Mr. Chair, of course, Public Works covers
Yes,
all these um,
Department.
Directors and superintendents. So you basically heard everything that's been reported on. We are going to re-advertise the position for Public Works Director. We're looking at it, possibly maybe modifying it a little better, but I think more what I want to discuss is sanitation, since it comes under this committee, and bring that to, bless you, Pro Tem. God bless you. Mr. Chair, I keep you abreast of everything that goes on.
Yes.
I bring you into meetings that involve federal monies, anything that we could possibly get. With our project manager, Mr. Robert Apolaca. Today, we received some great news because the mayor has tasked me, as you know, Mr. Chair, Madam Mayor Pro Tem, I believe you're aware of this also, that we are looking at cheaper ways to, without compromising the quality of our services, but to save the taxpayers and the people of Española more money. And so the mayor tasked me with a couple ideas of getting monies for either a transfer station of our own that we run and operate, or possibly opening up a landfill. Now, opening up a landfill would require 140 acres, which we do not have. The most amount of acres that the city owns is 68. But we could partner up, right, to make this a possibility. But the great news we heard today from New Mexico Finance Authority, I'd like to share, because we just got it today, that NMFA has informed the city of Española that we would be able to bond $10 million. And it's the pledging from our GRTs. So that is great news, and and to help us, because this department just turned a year old in October. And as we all know, you got to crawl before you walk, you got to walk before you run, and you got to run to the finish line, sprint to the finish line. And that's where we're at with our sanitation department. So we are currently, I signed off today on an emergency purchase of 2 new vehicles. Correct me if I'm wrong, April, is it 2 new vehicles? 2 new vehicles. And Mr. Chairman, as you know, as you sat in the meeting with me with John Francisco, when he said that we would be responsible if something as tragic as one of his employees being killed because of the issues that we have with the current trucks that the former manager purchased out of Florida, and how they are, gosh, always breaking down, costing a lot of money to always repair. They're according to what John Francisco told us, and this is part of his resignation and in his frustration, that they were a hazard, they were a safety hazard. And so we continue to function with that. But we went with the company that's local out of Albuquerque, 120-day delivery instead of 2 years, which is the norm right now in the market. And they are serviced right here in New Mexico, right out of Albuquerque. We don't have to take them to Texas. We don't have to take them to Florida. We don't have to take them to Arizona, Colorado, Utah. We're right here in New Mexico. So we're staying local. They saved on our, on the outside purchases from out of state. It saved us, and correct me if I'm wrong, April, about 130,000 on these purchases, brand new vehicles. And so I met with Lawrence. He's happy about it. He's excited. We were anticipating them maybe late February, early March, the delivery of these vehicles. And this is part of building this department up. And it's where we need to move it, the direction. We're moving it in a positive direction. Mr. Chair, because you are the chairman of this committee, I kept you in the loop at all regards. You've been involved with all the meetings with John Francisco, right into his resignation. So we just got to move forward. We can't look back. We need to move forward. We need to correct what's wrong and move forward. Because the people of Espanola, I can't elaborate any more than the finance director did, but it's the citizens that we serve on a day-to-day basis with these essential services and trash pickup, water, sanitation, all of them. And Mr. Chairman, I don't know if you knew this, but I do always elaborate on it, but 3 of the departments that presented to you this evening have been selected crews of the week for the city of Espanola. The first one was Superintendent Mares and his team. And I take these people out to lunch. I take their crews out. The second was Bryce Abeta and his team. And the third one was Mr. Jeff Sargent and his crew for the hard work that they do. And I agree with Councilor Benavides. If we can look to brighten up Riverside Drive, I agree with her. Part of the meeting on Thursday with the DOT is getting the old Oñate Bridge relit up. I don't know why the homeless continue to steal the wiring out of there. It's not copper, it's aluminum. And just the day-to-day work that these crews put forth. I mean, it's so much appreciated. I always tell them every Monday at my directors meetings. Elijah, you know this, Bryce calling me on a Sunday, texting me on a Sunday, CM, we have an issue, a water main break on Espinosa Street. It's going to affect this area. And Mr. Chair, I bothered you on a Sunday, Councilor Dennis Tim Salazar, because it's your district. I informed you because any phone calls that you're going to get, you were made aware of it. And I made you aware when the water was placed back on. What they go through on a day-to-day basis, the sanitation department, Rodney and his crew over at the wastewater, always constantly, Rodney comes in, he'll elaborate on a few things with me, telling me what we need, the EPA reports. So there's so much that goes into it other than purchases of equipment that need to follow through. And if it comes to finances or monies, I always turn it over to finances. They can brief me on, she stated, she briefs me. So I'm aware of it. So it's a great team. We have a great public works department all the way around, all the crews. I'm very, very proud of them. And it's obvious, right, Mr. Chair? They've been selected as the crews of the week. Great teams out there, and we'll continue to build on that, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Lujan. Questions from Mr. Lujan? Mayor Pro Tem.
I want to say,
Okay.
go ahead, Counselor.
Sorry about that. Yes, Mr. Salazar Torres, you were first. Sorry about that.
Thank you, Chair. So I do have a question for CM. You stated that you just did a couple emergency purchases. Was this aside from the quote unquote emergency purchases that we did prior to this of the vehicles, or was there something else that we got?
Mr. Chairman, Councilor Salazar Torres, it's not plural, it's singular. It's one emergency purchase for 2 vehicles. I'm not sure. An emergency purchase only allows for me or the mayor to sign off on. as long as it follows the guidelines of the state statute. We piggyback the city of Santa Fe and their emergency purchase for the same type of vehicles. Correct me if I'm wrong, April.
All right,
Um,
follow up, Chair, if I may. I don't need a pivot on this. It's a simple question, plural, singular, whatever it may be. We authorized an emergency purchase or purchase says the last time through this committee went to full council. You stated that you just did purchase or purchases, whatever it was you just stated. So were they the same or what else was different?
You want to elaborate that? Because I don't remember this going to council.
Counselor Salazar Torres, can you please repeat your question?
So
know
my
you-
question, and this was when I was chair and Mayor Pro Tem, Councilor Salazar and Councilor Benavides, I don't think you were on this committee before then, but we had fought and advocated, and this was actually during, I think, a city council meeting because it had gone back and forth and whatnot, and Mr. Francisco had needed an immediate purchase. It was urgent, it was emergent. So we had moved forward on this. I'm just wondering the credit the city manager's taking for an emergency purchase that he just stated. Was it regarding that we had done or this, or is there something else that he needed to do that was emergent?
No, it didn't have anything to do with a prior purchase that John Francisco presented to you. Neither I or city manager were here, so I'm not sure what procurement that was. This is a separate procurement for the purchase of the trash trucks. And when he said that he was able to approve on the emergency procurement, the only policy and procedure I have been able to find since I came into this position is a procurement policy that was approved in 2022. And there is the state procurement code that we do have to stay compliant with, but we also have to stay compliant with our own policy and procedure within the city. And I don't have it in front of me right now, so I am going to paraphrase, but it is an emergency procurement may be procured in the event that there is a threat to public health or safety, which there is if our front load truck breaks and we don't have.
No, sure, absolutely.
Provide.
And we're being repetitive right now. And Mrs. Moya, it's not your fault at all. This, I think, came a little shortly after you came on board or before you came on board, should I say. But city manager was here and we had spoken about, and it had gone through committees twice and went to full council and we discussed it. I'm just wondering if this was if this was different than what we had already discussed and voted on. Because did we do two different purchases now? What's going on here in that department?
I'll let the city manager answer that question. I can't answer that question. I can only answer the question for the emergency purchase that I went through the process of doing to procure.
Sure, understood.
Mr. Chair, Councilor Salazar Torres, no, this is not, it's not a dual. I don't recall John Francisco coming, or me being here when John Francisco came before. I'm looking at the chairman. But I'm not saying it didn't happen, Counselor, but it's not, what he presented to you was not an emergency, I don't believe. It was his regular purchase to the CES. This committee sent it back and the entire governing body sent it back. And that was his purchase that was going through the CES process.
It was a committee that sent it back, not the council, but we had and again, I'm beating a dead horse here, but we had an injury on our staff, and Chair, correct me if I'm wrong, but we had already gone through this and it had died, it came back, it went back and forth, finally went back, and we had deemed it somewhat of an emergency purchase at a council meeting. So I think it was for the compactor truck, if I'm not mistaken, because it had already, so I'm just wondering what you guys kind of are repeating yourself in what you're presenting. So I'm wondering if this is the same stuff that we had already gone over and we got something else different, or where we stand.
Well, I know that I am speaking on behalf of the emergency procurement that just got processed. And that is what I know that Eric was referring to. I'm not sure what purchase you're talking about before, because that was probably before my time. But I do want to clarify the question you did have earlier about the city manager and mayor authority. And that is in our policy and procedure that in the event an emergency procurement is declared, our current city policy says that a city manager or mayor can sign up on the process. In the event they are unable to do so, then it would be brought to the city council, which makes complete sense because if it would be an emergency purchase, it would be difficult to get that in front of the council that quickly.
Well, and
So
absolutely, and I'm not questioning y'all's authority.
Okay.
I'm questioning because the verbiage itself was utilized prior to this for these purchases of quote unquote, and I stated this since the beginning of the meeting of emergency purchase. So, we use this like it's somewhat a free, I'll just stop right there. But anyways, we've used that verbiage before. So now that he stated that he's done this, so I'm wondering, is it different than what we had originally authorized, or what else did we purchase?
Yes.
Is my simple question.
Yes,
Mayor Pro Tem, go ahead.
the answer is yes. Originally, the first emergency purchase was for the small truck. Remember, you made the motion, sir, to
Yes.
separate both issues, correct?
Yes,
So both issues were separated. At the time, the small truck was available, so that was the first emergency purchase.
but then it was
second-
not available.
It was available, that's why they got it.
Mm, okay,
It was already
Okay, we'll have
purchased.
to
It's
review
already
past-
been in use over a month. Okay,
okay, well,
so
we'll have to review this because the chassis per Mr. Francisco, the last meeting or 2 meetings prior to this one, was that it was not available. It had sold, so they were going to have to look at a different avenue. So that's why I'm asking.
but my understanding is that that truck has already been purchased and it was an emergency purchase. That's where I'm at with that. Secondly, the reason that the emergency purchase on the second 2 trucks had not been able to be a viable purchase was because the wait period on those trucks was 20-some months. And it could not go under emergency purchase as a 22-month wait because there's no emergency there if you're waiting 22 months. So the
Correct.
reason that this changed was because trucks were found locally. It was definitely deemed that it was an emergency because of the injury or possible injury to any employees. It was deemed emergency. That's my understanding of the
Okay,
situation.
perfect. That answers my question because I was
Okay.
curious as to where he stated another emergency, but obviously they don't, or I should say, city manager doesn't know what was happening or whatever. But okay, now it's understood. I was wondering if there's 2 different emergency purchases.
Thank you, Counselor Salazar Torres. Moving on, the next meeting is scheduled tentatively for January 2nd, that being after a holiday. So what's the pleasure?
My recommendation is not to have it on January 2nd because the staff will return on January 2nd. It's unfair to them to have to figure out advertisement and an agenda during the week that we're out, correct, BJ? You would not want to be doing that, right? Thank you. So my recommendation is to forward that meeting to a further down the road date to give her ample opportunity to prepare when she returns. So I think we go, the 8th is the first city council meeting. So if we can go somewhere in here, that would be good. The meeting after the second week would probably be the best.
I'm okay with that as long as we took a little poll on what the staff would like for their time off and, before it comes to a vote for the holiday vacation.
Not our-
What was that again, Salazar Torres?
I said I'm okay with what Mayor Pro Tem said, as long as the staff has given their opportunity to give you guys their advice on what they would like for the holiday time off.
So what we're trying to just get straightened out here is the next a date for the next Public Works.
Right.
Committee. Yes,
I'm okay with whatever. I'll just make it simple. I'm okay with whatever.
thank you. So
I'd say,
if you have a calendar in front of you, the 17th, that would be the 3rd Wednesday. Wait,
when does finance meet?
That's this month.
Chair, are you okay? Can I speak?
Counselor Salazar Torres?
If we're looking at the 17th, then shortly thereafter, the departments are going to present to full council their same reports that they give to us. So it's going to seem sort of a nuisance to just have them repeat themselves. I would say if it's going to be pushed that late, just to save it till February.
And I think we'd have to have one in January. Yeah, so
You can even go this week here. We don't have anything there either.
the only thing we have is city council on the 9th, right?
Yeah.
So how about January 10th? I'm gonna recommend January 10th. That's the second Wednesday.
Works for me.
Counselor Benavides?
I believe that works for me, Chair.
Awesome.
Thank you. Meeting adjourned.
Good night.
Good night, counselors. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Chair. Good night.
Thank you. Good night. 8:21.